Hi, good afternoon to everyone. I think we already 6 minutes late. We can start the webinar. First of all, before we starting the webinar, I would like to thank you from Forvis Mazars side and AFC side that you take out time to attend this webinar. We are really thankful to you who have taken out time to attend this webinar. And by end of the webinar, we will make sure the kind of time you have invested in this webinar, it should worth spending time. Along with me, I welcome Dr. Narendra Badhoni, who is General Manager in AFC, and we will take his insights as well on the webinar side. Before we jump on the webinar content, I just wanted to introduce myself. I am Dr. Sanjay Bharadwaj. I am leading social and development sector practice in Forvis Mazars. Forvis Mazars is a global firm. We comes globally in top 10 consulting organization. I takes care of the social sector advisory, where CSR is one of the core component of it. So we do a lot of pre-policy research, impact evaluation, CSR evaluation, and many more things in and around CSR. The objective is, of course, not only engaging with you, but also trying to educate you on today's in next 2 to 3 hours time. And most of the buzzword you might have heard about, but we'll try to declutter couple of things in more simplified way. This was all about ourself and our organization. I would request Dr. Narendra Badhoni if he can quickly brief himself and about AFC, and then we'll start the webinar content. Over to Dr. Badhoni.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjay. Myself, Dr. Narendra Badhoni. I'm working in AFC as a DGM. And as you know, AFC, a leading union government of company. It's promoted by Indian banking industry way back in 1968. And it's our office inaugurated by the late Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister by Morarji Bhai Desai ji in 1968. Earlier, our mandate is to facilitate financing in the agriculture sector and providing support to the farmers. But after nationalization of the bank, however, we till provide support to the farmers and agriculture fraternity till 77, 78. Later on, we imparted some facilitate banking bodies in preparation of DPR, bankable project, etc. Later on, Government of India, state government utilize AFC services in monitoring and baseline services and different government project, M&E of the government project. Until 2000, we were a leading M&E agency of the India. Later on, we diversify our services. We enter in the project implementation like organic farming, livelihood project, and so on. After that, we were also in the FPO promotions. Now we are in the IT also, and we are also one of the CSR program implementing. Our foundation is implementing some CR supporting project also, and we are also in the carbon credit sector also. So far, we have 5 to 6 MOU we have signed between so many agencies for facilitating carbon credit for those agencies. Now, over to Sanjay Bhai.
Thank you so much. So, we try to keep this webinar is more interactive as much as we can. So I request everyone to participate, and so that we do some collective learning. So I'm just throwing a couple of questions. You can reply those questions in your chat box. So what motivates you to attend this CSR webinar? So if you can reply this question, it would help me to weave the content or maybe modify the content during the conversation. The second point I wanted to throw, the second question I wanted to throw to you is, how would you define the responsibility? Because the all CSR is talking about corporate social responsibility. I would like to understand the responsibility in your definition, in your words. So let's jump to the in the meantime I will get answers of these two questions, and I will throw some more questions during the session, but let me stick to these questions and would looking forward to these answers. And the second point, I just trying to in terms of engagement, the I have gone through the different kind of demography of the audience, and I found many people are from the CSR implementation side, some people are from the corporate side, and few are from consulting side as well. I am really see the composite of the audience, and I will, while I will discuss the webinar thing, I will try to cover all three types of audience during the sessions. Also, if you see you have some questions, maybe it could be technical or non-technical, we would happy to answer, we would happy to cover either during the webinar, or maybe we'll try to answer one-to-one on the emails after the webinar is over, if we would have limited time on that. So before let's jump to the webinar content before wasting more time on this. So I'm trying to display my screen, and just hold for a second. Okay. So ideally I have divided the webinar in three parts. One, I will talk about the corporate social responsibility. This section is largely focusing on what CSR is all about, and how what kind of compliance. So this session is largely covering all the compliance side of it, and compliance is helping us to design the responsible program, because it's a very regulated sector. So when I say regulated, it's not, you have a lot of regulations around it, because in the new regulation you have impact assessment also in place, but we'll try to declutter each of the regulations, because that would help you to design your program. So regulation is not, I'm not going to cover only the regulation from the donor side. I will also cover the regulations from the recipient side, so that both type of audience can be benefited from this session. So there are a lot of regulations, so I'll try to declutter. So I listed them down in terms of 17 different regulations, and 17 different points. I try to resonate these 17 points with 17 different sustainable development goals. So for easy we can relate them easily. So the first point, before we jump on the technical side of it, I just wanted to set up the context. Maybe some of the audience could be very new in this session. So understanding the concept of CSR, and then one by one we'll try to unfold each of the area which would help us in terms of understanding the different regulations around the CSR. So let's understand first the concept of CSR. See, the concept of CSR is, of course, you might have heard a lot of things around CSR, but ideally there are four components of it when we go nitty gritty of the CSR things. One is, of course, when you design a CSR, maybe I'm just giving an example from a corporate side. When you design a program, for any CSR program, the one point you need to keep in mind, that where are the country's priorities are mapping. You need to design a program which actually aligning with the country's priority or government priorities. The second is, this priority should not align with the government, it should also align with the management priority as well. And both the priorities, whether it is national priority with respect to government priority or maybe the company priority with respect to management priority, this should have clear-cut long-term commitment to do a social change, because social change does not happen in 6 months down the line, or 1 year down the line. It takes lot of time. You take any of the examples, let's say if you wanted to work on a migration problem, it will take 5 to 10 years to change that problem. So you need to have a long-term vision of that priorities. And what are the different component of CSR, we'll talk about. Let's take one by one in terms of understanding the CSR concept. So CSR largely came in India, and I think if I'm not wrong, India is the first country to bring the legislation around, and it part of the Company Act now, where different legislations, different turnover criteria, and we'll talk about all these things in subsequent hours, that what are the eligibility in terms of who are eligible to be part of the CSR, and what kind of turnover or profitability is required. So of course it's a part of the Company Act now, so it's absolutely legitimated, and it also incorporated the social and environmental consideration, because ESG is largely is a buzzword these days. Sustainability measurement is absolutely not only in India but globally as well, people are talking about. And ESG is kind of it's talking about environment, social and governance things, and CSR is a larger umbrella where ESG is one of the components. On the long-term commitment side, these long-term commitment does not, as I mentioned, social change does not happen in 1 month, 2 months, or maybe 6 months or 1 year. It takes time. So society development, it's a long-term commitment. So CSR, when you design, you need to see that this should not be transactional stuff, that I wanted to do some program which is just a transactional. So while you design a program, it should be give a long-term impact, or maybe long-term program which may be small transactional outcome, and then leading to a larger society change. So what are the two things what we see is that in terms of key component is that the one who is receiving the benefit of your program is the key stakeholder. You need to keep that in mind. And what the company driving force in terms of where the company vision is aligning. Of course you need to align the company vision with the government priorities and national priority, but also where the company is driving that. So vision of the company, vision of the management, and vision of the government, and vision as a national vision, you need to marry all these things and design your program, keeping the beneficiary in the mind, that you need to benefit certain kind of society or certain kind of community, that has to be in your mind. So these are the different things I try to in terms of defining the concept of the CSR is what we are talking about. Now, in terms of CSR eligibility, that who are the people, or which are the company need to become in this CSR framework. That does it every company will come in the CSR framework, what the Companies Act 2013 is talking about. And the Company Act is talking about if the company net worth is more than 500 crore, or maybe turnover of 1000 crore, or net profit of 5 crore, is what they are talking about to bring in the CSR umbrella. So if any company fall in any of these category, will be considered as the part of the CSR compliance in terms of CSR eligibility. This is broader criteria of any company to be part of. So for instance, if you are from a corporate side, you are thinking that am I eligible or not, you can map your credential as per sorry, I just clicked something else. So you can map your credential as per the requirement and see that where I am falling. And if you are from a recipient side, you can target such company which falls in these three criteria, where you can reach out to to different kind of CSR projects. So in terms of what are the activity, for instance, if I need to do some social change, so in which area I can do the social change? That is a fundamental questions I need to, every area, that which are the eligible area in the CSR where people can, give CSR funding, or people can receive CSR funding. So these are the different, these are very articulate in the schedule 7, which you might, because you are from a CSR background, I'm just trying to set up the context of this webinar. You know it, but I try to declutter maybe some of the information you might not know about it. So in the hunger and poverty malnutrition, there are different area which schedule is talking about. You can design program from a recipient side. You can design a program in preventive healthcare, sanitation, and safe drinking water, and you can submit to the donor in these three areas, and you can articulate your proposal in the hunger sanitation. On the education side, because this is the most buzzword, everybody is seeking lot of grants around it, lot of implementation agency, NGOs are there. So largely there are a lot of players in education and women, elderly and different able, but I see a lot of limited players in the special education. You can think of designing such program. And if you are from a recipient side, you can prepare some proposal, look out the different needs of your area, and see what are the in your vicinity, whether these things are required or not. Education largely is being seen as skill development, so you can start thinking beyond skills as well. So you can change your audience, you can change your different themes area under education. So education is absolutely comes under the schedule 7. On the gender equality and empowerment, there are, you can design, the homes and hostels for women and orphans, old age homes, daycare centers, reducing inequality, backward groups. So you can think of designing such programs, because in these days, many of the organizations, largely some PSUs, are interested in bringing some innovative projects as well, because largely what is happening, the recipient, the implementation agency, which is in this case is NGO, is bringing the traditional programs. They are not bringing out of box thinking in terms of doing the social change. So you can think of bringing some kind of innovative projects to them, which has traditionally not been awarded or not been submitted to any donor. So on the environment sustainability, there are a lot of things is happening in Delhi as well. You might have seen a lot of news around dogs. So you can design some ecological balance, flora fauna protection, animal welfare, or anything which you think is affecting the environment sustainability. You can design such programs and submit to the different donors. On the national heritage, personally I have seen limited projects in it, but you can start designing such projects in maybe restoration or public library or traditional or handicraft promotions. You can, and there are a lot of government schemes as well, which is largely aligning to the artisans. So you can think of designing some projects in and around this national heritage. On the armed forces welfare dependent, so we can design some flagship programs for war widow, and I'm just trying to give you an idea in each of the categories. It is not meant, these are our ideas, trying to pitch you some ideas where you can think of visualizing the proposals while you write to some donors, or even if you are from a donor side, you can think of designing or asking your implementation agency to bring some innovative projects under different category available under the Schedule 7. On the sports promotion, Government of India is running a lot of schemes. You might have heard about Khelo India and other things, but you still can, design some program on sports promotions. It can be in and around rural health, rural sports. It can in and around national recognized sports or Paralympics or any sports which you think that. And I have seen a donor which is largely supporting the different athlete on supplying the different nutritional stuff to them. So one can think of promotion of the sports in many other ways. It is not limited to these 4 categories, but I am just trying to give you an idea. On the national fund contribution, R&D side, so I will just skip it because we're just trying to, these are well articulated in the Schedule 7. So the idea of this is to giving you an idea that under the Schedule 7, you can think innovative projects in each of the category, which is as per the government compliance. So moving to the covering, this is more on the implementation agency side, but moving on the function of the board of committee, which is largely on the donor side. What are the different precautions they need to take care while while they are implementing the different CSR program. Of course, the CSR policy should be in place. We'll also touch upon in next slides as well. The second is public disclosure. There should be annual reports. In each annual report, the CSR programs should be articulated well. The implement CSR activity, the kind of due diligence you have undertaken while you onboarding the implementation agency, how the CSR expenditure has been ensured by you, not only doing the disbursement to the implementation agency, how you are putting the controls on that, how you are monitoring the fund utilization from the implementation side, and of course if at all is any funds is left, how you are unspent balance, how you are managing it. There are again how you are if there is unspent balance, how you are doing the explanation in the annual report, and how this to as per the act, how you are doing the transfers. On the CSR expenditure, in terms of at least 2% of the average net profit in last 3 years is they are talking about. So one second. So on the CSR committee, which is largely again on the donor side, there should be minimum 3 directors and at least 1 independent director. You might have heard about these new days is a buzzword of independent director. There's a different league of people who are part of independent director directory, where people get themselves registered, and the different companies are, because this is a compliance requirement, the different companies are hired from directory to as an independent director. In terms of different company category, if it is a listed company, so in listed company minimum 3 director and 1 independent director is mandatory. On the unlisted, so when I say, I assume that all these company are in that criteria which I have talked about, the turnover criteria and the profit criteria. Under those category, there could be listed company, there could be unlisted public companies, where minimum 3 director, at least 1 independent, 2 director, with no independent director is required. In terms of private company, minimum 2 director and no independent required. But in listed company, there is minimum 1 independent director is absolutely required. In the foreign company, again, you need to have minimum 2 person, 1 as per the section 381 and another nominated by the foreign company. So these are on the CSR committee side. So let me just on the roles and responsibility of CSR committee, because this is the most crucial committee of the company. So these are the three main roles and responsibility of that. One is, of course, formulate and recommend a CSR policy, which I touched upon earlier, that one has to have the CSR policy in place. And CSR policy, while you're drafting the CSR policy, you need to have, mindful of, what are the government priorities, what are the, national priority, and what are the my organization priority, how I am aligning, fitting myself in the larger government umbrella, and then recommend the CSR expenditure and monitor the CSR policy. And when I say monitor the CSR policy, is not only monitor the CSR policy, but also the CSR program monitor. On the implementation side, in terms of how the CSR being implemented, so it could be largely from company itself, or maybe if they don't want to largely don't want to implement it, then again there is a different kind of society, section 8 company, largely what we call it not to profit public trust society, which is registered, which should have 12 and ATG. We'll talk about 12 and ATG in subsequent slides. And there should be strategy, or maybe it could be strategy bodies as well, or maybe any society registered under which has at least 3 years of track record, generally is being preferred. So this is the but there are limited company who does their own itself. They largely do from the other entity, and that is where the role of NGO and section 8 company comes in. So this is the prerequisite of having someone in place for your CSR implementation. On the financial commitment side, in terms of as I mentioned earlier, at least 2% of average net profit and less than 3 years of operation, you need to see while you onboard any of such. And this is okay, 2% you have already taken care of. On the non-compliance unspent CSR, which is largely, it could happen for the ongoing projects, or it could happen other than ongoing projects. So let's discuss the completed project first, or no. So then within 6 months you need to transfer that amount. And on the ongoing projects, you have largely the 3 options here. One is, of course, transfer the unspent CSR amount within 30 days, or spend within 3 financial, because it's a continuity of the project, and transfer the remaining to Schedule 7 within 30 days after 3 years. So this is on the ongoing projects, and completed is very, very simple. So there is no rocket science in that. On the permissible limit on administrative overhead, so sorry, I'm just concluding it, and then these are very, very technical questions. This is helpful for the donor. So I'm just trying to articulate them so that they should have everything in place in one go. On the limit of administrative overhead, you might have heard about 5% of total CSR fund is allowed, which could be general management administration, and includes the operation, salary, cost, and compliance. It does not have the impact assessment cost, which is largely will cover here. So on the impact assessments, again, mandatory condition. On the mandatory condition, what is mandatory condition? Again, it has 3 components of it. One is, of course, either you have total corpus of 10 crore in the last 3 years, or the CSR expenditure of one project should be more than 1 crore, one project of CSR expenditure, or initiated based upon both condition met, or maybe voluntary. You can do the impact assessment. It's very helpful. It gives a confidence to your donor, to your board, that okay, we are doing the third party assessment, impact assessment as well. On the voluntary, we urge, whether it is 20 lakhs project or 25 lakhs project or 50 lakhs project, one should do the impact assessment. In between, we left this surplus from CSR activity. You can transfer the unspent CSR account, utilize approval CSR committee within 6 months, or there could be other income source of that. So you need to consider all these other income source. There could be interest from funds, or revenue from CSR projects, or sale of material, or other. So you need to think, because many a times we only think on the money which we are left. we hardly, sometime, not hardly, sometime we miss the income from source in case of CSR. So what is CSR's reporting rule? The CSR reporting rule is talking about, board's report must include the annual CSR report. It also includes the impact assessment report, and we will give some annexes around it after end of the seminar. On the CSR disclosure, rule number 9 is talking about public disclosure, company website, that you need to talk about that these are the initiatives we are running on the website, that whether the scheduled 7 activity you have listed under the hunger activity, we are running so and so program. The composition of the CSR committee, these are the composition, these are the member who are key stakeholder in terms of making a decision on the CSR, and this is my CSR policy, and this is my approved projects. And while you design a CSR compositions, one need to see that the people of the relevant thematic area should be part of the team. It should not be that you have some people from the hunger background and working on some other area. So so ideally the composition of the team should be relevant to the approved projects. So on the legal compliance obligation of CSR funds, again, there are different kind of things which you can see from a implementation agency, or implementation agency can get those registration done in terms of making themselves eligible for CSR funding. So for that we'll cover one by one. For instance, on the NGO registration side, we see that one is of course the specific legal frame of the central state. You can have some national level, maybe you can have some trust society registration national level, or maybe you can take some state level, state specific society. You can every state had their own society act, so you can register themselves in terms of state level as well on the NGO registration side. PAN card generally everybody should have, but in terms of how it is going to help you in terms of in terms of your society wealth, in terms of crucial financial, because this through PAN you can really have all the information in terms of the income, in terms of tax purpose, in terms of whether the agency should have all the process in place or not. So on the other criteria in terms of registration of the section 12 and ATGs, largely you heard about ATGs largely being for Indian, and 12 is largely for the foreign funding. So one should have all the documents in place. For instance, for society and trust, for instance, for the AT, what are the benefit of having ATG? So you can, donor can claim 50% reductions, new registration, for three years provisional registration, then it can be renewed after 6 months, and its validity is for 5 years. On the ATG side, the condition of ATG is again 3-4 conditions which you can maintain. It's very, very crucial, and some of you are running NGO, you might have seen lot of sometime notices are coming to you that how you are maintaining all these records. So you need to have the separate accounts in terms of business income and donor income. Then you need to clearly explain the charitable activity which you are doing, not specific to largely from the caste or religion side. Then you need to maintain the accurate accounts and register in the society act, which largely we have covered in initial section. On the 12A benefit side, the idea is NGO surplus income exempt from tax and previous one time, now 5 years validity from April 2021, new registration provisionally 3 years, and renewal for 6 months every, the same way with ATG works. So 12A is also its own benefit. So if you have all these all these document in place, you can definitely reach out to any of the donor agency to get the funding around. But when you design the program, keep the Schedule 7 in mind. These are the essential documents, and but your creativity will weave around the different themes under the Schedule 7. CSR 1 registration is extremely important for you to get yourself registered, and for donor as well to see whether the NGO seeking funding is compliant with CSR 1 or not. So CSR 1, most of you would have that. So I'll touch upon these are the very document which you might have heard about. I'll touch upon the eligibility criteria to have it, so you can note it down. So to be on the CSR 1, you need to, and most of you would have these maybe you would have Section 8 company with 12 and ATG registered society, or Section 8 company. Then you can apply for the CSR 1, largely which is being requested by the different donors. On the benefiting of the CSR 1 is, of course, there could be multiple benefit. I just try to cover 3 benefits of having it. One is, of course, this is boosting the confidence in the donor that okay, this is CSR compliant, CSR 1, and you can get much access to the funding. And of course, this will enhance your goodwill, and largely because you are compliant CSR, it is being considered that your CSR activity are largely compliant enough. So I will just concluding. There are 2 more things which are left to cover. The last registration under the National CSR Exchange. This is a new buzzword you might have heard about. People are talking about a lot on this. So we largely in Forvis Mazars, trying to help you in terms of facilitating that, because this is the next e-wave is coming on that. So where you can not only showcase your CSR project, but also different challenges you are facing while executing the projects, because these are the projects which is not largely been designed with a specific outcome expected. So outcome can vary from 0 to 1. So anticipated outcome many a time it does not come. So you might have encountered a lot of challenges, and maybe anything which is you have anticipated to be changed in 1 year, it can take 2 to 3 years. So we definitely can help you in terms of how this can happen, and how you can leverage all these things. On the we already everybody know FCRA. So on the FCRA side, you can take our support as well, how we can in terms of help you. But it's a hardcore simple process of getting all this. So idea of this is touching each and every point, is that we trying to to help you to get all these compliance in place while you either design a program, seek funding from donor, or if you are a donor giving funding to recipient or any NGO partner. So you should have some kind of checklist around the compliance side. So one is the objective checklist, where you can just do the tick mark. Okay, this you have, FCRA you have, ATG you have, but having said that, you need to see the subjectivity in the proposal as well. How that NGO or how that implementation agency design their projects, which is not only talking about the compliance side, but also putting a creativity in the thematic area which they have thought of under the Schedule 7. So while you design a program, you need to do a lot of brainstorming, that what are the new areas where you see that this is the community which is left out, I need to work upon, and this compliant as per the Schedule 7. So the most asked question or frequently asked question is that is whether this activity comes under Schedule 7 or not. This is the most frequent questions is being asked, and many a times we are not sure that whether this activity comes under Schedule 7 or not. So it is very important for you to, whether you are from recipient side or you are from the donor side, you need to understand it in a detail, that whether any particular activity is being part of the Schedule 7 or not. That is the most frequently asked. You need to verify it as per the law. The second frequent asked question is that which programs comes under the impact assessment. We are trying to cover it, that any program which is more than 1 crore of the value, or total CSR corpus is more than 10 crore, is you can go for third party impact assessment, is largely. On the impact assessment side, we would urge, we'll try to cover the evaluation framework as well in the later half of this session, that how the impact evaluation of any of the program should happen. So we'll try to cover that as well, but this is on the regulation side. I will take a pause and try to see some questions around and try to answer those questions. In the meantime, if you have questions, please write in the chat box, and I will take a pause for 1 minute, and then we'll resume the session again, and I will read out the questions in the meantime. Let me see if there is any questions. Please write questions in the chat box. I'll try to cover them. There are a lot of poll around it, so okay. So anyways, I don't think there are a lot of polls around it. I could not see either some problem, but I think I will ask few questions. I will personally have noted down to try to answer those questions during the webinar, and that would helpful to you, and we'll try to declutter those questions and then resume the session again. So I have noted it down. 1 second. Dr. Badoni, are you there? Dr. Narendra Badoni, are you there? Okay, he might not be there. But anyways, so I try to cover two questions which is most frequently asked. You please write your questions in the meantime. I have noted down few more questions which are relevant to you while you know. So one question I noted down, which is being frequently asked, that how should we design a CSR impact assessment of any program? What should be the framework which one should adopt? There are multiple framework while you design a CSR program, but okay, there is a
Sanjay sir.
Hanji sir, sorry, please.
Actually, you might be tired. I would like give you some 10 second or relax.
Please.
I have one more point. Actually, in your presentation, you say environmental sustainability, and then I hope in our audience there are some donor and some our NGO partner also. So in that case, as per our signatory of the Paris Agreement, India has committed to reduce net zero carbon emission. So then I have one suggestion ki whoever is preparing proposal for under CSR, so in view of environmental sustainability, we have to see whatever intervention we are going to propose, it must be facilitating reduction of carbon emission. If we are able then it will be win-win situation to the donor also, because it will be address our SDG also, and our commitment to Paris Agreement to reach the level of net zero. So I think it may be beneficial for the our stakeholders, like if we intervene in some agriculture sector or like afforestation plantation sector. So then our beneficiary will get some more than 20 years some carbon credit benefit from project itself also. Thank you, sir. Over to you, sir.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah. So any questions in the chat box? I am just looking some questions. I am thinking to make it more interactive, but I could not see any questions around. Yes, 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 yes. First question came is, what are the most common compliance challenge companies face while executing CSR projects? So I'm repeating the question. The question is, what are the most common compliance challenge companies face while executing a CSR projects? So while executing a CSR project means the CSR project has been awarded, because it's a execution stage, it is not the pre-execution stage. So which means that all the compliance in terms of getting projects are in place. Now we need to have the concurrent monitoring of the regulations of the projects, because the question is most common compliance challenge companies face while executing, means the project has been awarded to some donor agency, and that donor agency has legitimate all the prerequisite for that implementation agency and have awarded. Now how that donor agency can monitor the compliance, that it should not be any challenge for the implementation and donor agency both. So what are the common challenges in terms of executing the project? So the first thing, as I mentioned earlier, that the CSR policy, when you design the CSR policy, you need to see that in the CSR policy whether it is aligning with the, so first is thematic area which you have agreed in the for instance, you have agreed on health, wealth, health, education, or maybe some kind of migration or some kind of poverty elevation you have agreed. So one is the project which you have awarded should be in line with the objective of your CSR policy, and all the outcome which has been decided as a part of a CSR proposal should be in place. So one is, you need to see that these are the 5 parameters the recipient has given to us, and these are the 5 parameters I should be keep in mind, that I am monitoring these 5. You call it KPI, you call it parameter, whatever you wanted to call it. Then the 5 or 6 KPI, whatever you have been agreed at the time of award of the projects, should be divided as much as in a lowest pedestal, so that it can be quantified in a certain way, that you can really make it simple logical framework where you can quantify each and every effort of the organization. So keeping that, one is from the monitoring side. So monitoring side is that you are dividing that larger KPI into subsection that can be quantified. So one challenge is, of course, that we many a times are not being focused. We have decided something at the start of the project and we end up with different things. So this is the most crucial component of the project execution, that we should be focused, that these are the 4 KPI we agreed, and we are quantifying ourselves with around 4 KPIs, so that we can measure it after the completion of the projects or during the completion of the. That's the main challenge that uh, many time implementation agency divert their convenience as per themselves rather than the donor. That is the one challenge. On the compliance side, of course, you have awarded certain projects in certain head, and you have given certain funding to certain head. For instance, you have given some funding to travel, some funding to purchase of some tablet, some funding to creating awareness or XYZ. So you need to see that the spending should be at the true spirits of the funding in which head they have given, so that when if CSR audit happen, that can be, should not be a challenge in terms of, because after the CSR audit, if that comes that heads of the different funds has been changed, it would be very challenging for you. So the compliance side, you need to see that amount or money which you are giving in a certain head, that should be spent in the same head. So that is the on the compliance side. So these are the two challenges I see that one needs to monitor very closely in terms of when the projects is going on. I also got one more questions. Let me see. 3-4 questions, not only one question. The question is, what is the role of communication and films in CSR projects? It's a big role, because communication is is creating awareness not only in the community, but also on the larger stakeholder, whether it is a company stakeholder, government stakeholder. So communication or short film, or maybe some kind of impact of these projects on larger platform is absolutely motivating not only the community to participate, but also uplift them to go to the next level. So I see communication two ways. One is, of course, creating the communication about your project in the vicinity. It helps you in further mobilization of the beneficiary further for the next projects. That is the one aspect of it. The second aspect is that your visibility as a firm goes to not only limited to beneficiary, but all the larger stakeholder, whether it is a government stakeholder or other stakeholder, which are seeing you in a different view. So it is not only creating the brand building of your program, not the organization, of your program, that how this program is transforming the lives of people, but also helping others to participate. And if at all they are unable to participate, but at least that is creating some kind of motivations for them for the real change they need to do in their life. I will take one more question, and then I'll jump to the content part of it. Could you share few successful example of large scale CSR program in India? Of course, there are a lot of examples on large scales. But let's take an simple example of this Akshay Patra. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the name. There are a lot of an example, but I generally have visited there many places that they have done it. But these are large program. But let me quote which we have done the impact assessment. We have done impact assessment of Escort Kuboto. We have done impact assessment of Schneider Electric. We have done impact assessment of Perfetti Milli. All these programs, though they are small in nature maybe, but largely creating larger impact because Escort Kuboto creating a lot of impact on the farmer side, not only educating them on different tools and techniques of the agriculture, but agriculture equipments including tractors, but also helping them to go to the next level in terms of creating the value of that CSR thing. For instance, if we call it social cost benefit analysis, where they bought an agricultural equipment from Escort Kuboto, that agricultural equipment is helping them to earn their livelihood. So in terms of creating social cost benefit analysis of that particular equipments on the larger society is absolutely helping society, not only creating the livelihood but also generating revenue for the organization who is selling that equipments. Yeah. So let me jump on the second part of so I try to cover the compliance part of it. We if you require, we'll give the handout of that PPT shown to you. We can email that so that it should be in your inbox. The second part of it is of this is covering the evaluation of the CSR program. So let me just open that. There are different program of evaluation. Evaluation is largely where you is doing the impact and evaluation both of these CSR program. I am just pulling that mind map. 1 second. Okay. So there are different evaluation framework. So evaluation framework is where you evaluate any of the CSR program to see the impact of that program on the ground, and this could be concurrent evaluation, this could be end-line evaluation as well. So there could be different evaluation framework. So one of the framework we generally use in the different CSR program evaluation is the RACI framework, which is OECD evaluation framework. We'll try to cover that OECD framework, which has in itself 6 components of it. One is relevance, second is effectiveness, third one is efficiency, fourth is impact, fifth is sustainability, and sixth is equity. This is the latest OECD evaluation framework, which is generally being utilized across the globe and in India as well. And we generally adopt this framework while we evaluate any of the CSR program. And even government also uses this framework in evaluating their different government schemes. For instance, Niti Aayog use this framework in evaluation of their government national or state level schemes. So this evaluation framework is largely talking about that how the CSR program is relevant, how the CSR program is effective, how the CSR program is more efficient, how this CSR program has impacted. If this CSR program does not there, what should be the counterfactual effect? Counterfactual is something, if this program does not exist, what would happen? And sustainability, whether this program is sustainable or not, whether it's a just transitional program. And then equity is something where it is not only taking care of the one section of the society but also the overall. So this 6-stage framework which generally is being utilized, and both the whether it's CSR recipient or CSR donor can adopt this framework. If you are CSR recipient, you can put this framework as a part of your proposal to boost in more confidence in the donor. And if you are a donor, you can ask your implementation agency to ensure that they should implement this through a third party. So on the relevance of the in the relevance, again you trying to it's a more on the need assessment side. For instance, if you recall, let's say 10 years down the line, and if I'm just taking in a very symbolic example, if I'm a head of any organization and I'm running a manufacturing unit, and something came in my mind that I wanted to do something in my for society, and I woke up in the morning and I will call my at that 10 years before there was not CSR head, so I will call my CFO and said, oh, just open an ITI in my village. So there was no rationale behind it. Something come in my mind and I called my CFO and boom, it's done. But these days, you need to do some kind of rationale around it. You can't really woke up in the morning and decide, oh, I wanted to open an ITI in my village. No, you can't do it right now. You need to have logical reasoning around it. You should have a rationale around it, that why, how the program is relevant to the overall society, whether it is relevant to your CSR policy, whether it is relevant to your organization, whether it is relevant to the country. So these days, relevance is extremely important while you design a program. So since we are talking about evaluation, that relevance, the program has already been designed earlier. So now we are seeing its relevance, whether the program when designed was relevant or not. So this framework will give you an idea when the program was designed was relevant or not. So you can do this exercise in the designing phase as well. So this relevance is addressing the right problem or need of the society, whether it is aligned with priorities of the beneficiaries, whether it is adopting the changing context, whether it is appropriate for social, economic or institutional. So if these four things are four pillars, there could be other as well. If four pillars are yes, then the program is relevant. When I say was relevant, because we are doing evaluation, the program has already been over, we are doing the underlying evaluation. So if we can take it as at the initial stage of designing, we can keep this in mind and we can design a better relevant program. On the effectiveness side is largely that you have stated some objective in the proposal. You have said that I will achieve this, I will achieve this, I will achieve this. Whether those achievement has done or not is something very, very important for the effectiveness. See whether the project was effective or not. Whether the outcome which has been achieved, whether they are quality or in terms of quality and quantity, whether both the criteria is being met or not. Whether target, in between target, you might have some kind of intermediate target has been met or not, and what are the factors which actually hinders if there is a delta around it. So effectiveness is largely talking about that you have targeted X and you have achieved Y. So what is the difference between X and Y? Have you exceeded the expectation, or have you met the expectation, or you have not met the expectation? Is talking about effectiveness. So if this can only be done after the evaluation. So in designing phase, you can make it part of the project. This is my expectation in the intermediate. On the efficiency side, this is not effectiveness, this is efficiency. Efficiency means that you have achieved the result in more economical ways. It's not something that you spend 1,000 rupees where you can still manage with 200 rupees. So efficiency is how you have managed your resources very economically with respect to compares with input and output, and how the overall, not only the financial but overall resources has been managed is talking about the efficiency of the project. And this is we are drilling down project specific. Then impact in the sense that how this project is really impacted, and here we see the two types of things. One, if the project does not exist, what would have been done? If the project exists, how this has given the broader long-term changes, unintended effects, positive or negative effects. There could be negative effect as well on individual community systems environment, how this is has impacted, and some kind of specific intervention, distinguished changes you have really introduced after this. So larger impact on the society is the impact framework of this OECD framework. Then sustainability, how this all is sustainable. It is not something that is a transactional thing that you did and you are gone. Then after that there is nothing happening, either nothing after that and nothing before that.
So sustainability gives, is kind of, it is going to next level, in terms of continuity, the initiative. For instance, your outcome should become, your output should become input for or feeder for other projects. So that is how you need to see that. It is not something that you did some transactional thing and the outcome of your project is not becoming input for other projects. So whether this is something being considered or not, that it is not specific to output, it is specific that your output should become input for other projects or other initiatives. This is what the sustainability is talking about. That this also we will assess the institutional capacity, assessment of financial capacity, assessment of community capacity, and other things we largely see in the sustainability. On the equity side, we largely see that if the while projects has been implemented, is there kind of participation, is it across gender, across social group, whether it is distributed fairly or not, whether it is reached out to marginalized section, vulnerable group of the society, whether it is addressing disparity. So all these things is largely comes under the equity framework. So the point we are trying to, before we conclude, the point we are trying to make is, if you are a donor, you need to see the evaluation framework in mind while you accepting the proposal. And if you are an implementation agency, you please put the evaluation framework in your mind while you design the program to boost in confidence to the donor. Again, I am stopping it and would like to take questions around it. Dr. Badoni, you would like to say something in this? So let me see in the chat box if there are any questions. Dear participant, please type your questions if you have. There are 3-4 questions which are left. Initially, I'll try to address them in the meantime. One question came in which is talking about what factors should companies consider while selecting an NGO implementation partner. So I have mixed view in this. Largely a traditional view is that you largely see that how that NGO or implementation partner worked in that thematic area, what kind of credential that that NGO have. Largely this is a traditional way of seeing any NGO. But I believe if your compliance is taken care of in terms of if it's eligible for all these ATC, 3R and everything, I believe you need to see the what kind of innovation he or she or the project, because it's largely not only NGO but the one who is the project manager. So what kind of innovation he is trying to showcase during the project implementation, what kind of project he has designed. Is that project is as I mentioned is a transactional project, or it is yielding to next level, the outcome of the project, if that is become input of other projects, is worth taking it. So ideally while you consider any NGO, I would recommend that of course you need to see the compliance. If the compliance is okay, you need to see the innovation, what innovations he or she bring on the table, so that new players also get an opportunity to work upon. And of course due diligence, because you have done it at initial stage on the compliance side, then you need to give some flexibility for new NGOs to come in. Then what sector, education, health, environment will be focus area for CSR? See, CSR, so as per the schedule 7, there are multiple areas to which is talking about. It depends upon in which area any company has some interest or have some CSR policy. So any area which is covering the schedule 7 is good to go. It is not something specific to some sector, but yes, if you look at the larger context for the country, I would recommend that one area, of course, the people development, where we're talking about a lot of skill development projects. The second could be rural development, where you can create some social infrastructure for the rural youth to come in the labor market. So ideally, but yes, it could be anything, because I believe that and this is my personal belief. I believe that there are a lot of things government is also doing for marginalized section, for others people to bring them on next level. So some of the you can think of dividing in such a way that I will 20, 30, 40% I will do for marginalized section, or maybe 20% I will do for rural development, or some skill development, or rural youth, or whatever you wanted to call it. So ideally you can divide your focus in that area, but it all depends upon your CSR policy, where it is indicating, where it is heading to. So broadly I have covered. There is one more question. Hello sir, can you please elaborate with example where one CSR program outcome is becoming input? Very interesting question. Very, very interesting. So somebody has asked that if you can give us an example where one outcome of one CSR project is becoming input for the other CSR program. So I'll give an example what we have done with one CSR which we have done with Net Health. Net Health is a healthcare federation of India. They have a lot of funding from Fortis, from all these big hospitals. So the problem they are solving was that there are a lot of apprehension in the vaccination. There are certain community who are not aligned to take vaccination, and when I say vaccination, is largely the mandatory vaccination. They are not aligned with certain belief system. They have designed some projects, and this was implemented in 2 states. One is in the Assam, Guwahati, we have Kamrup district, and one we have taken the block which is Mewat area in Haryana. So these are two districts have been chosen to see that how why this apprehension is around from a certain community standpoint. So we have done we have seen that there is so one part of it, that validating whether there is apprehension or no, that is the first part of it. The second part of it is that how that apprehensions of taking certain kind of vaccines, that apprehensions can be removed. So for instance, that the first part of the study bring out certain fact where the people are apprehensive. The second part of it is that how we have tried to eliminate that apprehensions, or try to overcome that apprehensions in the community through using your local influencers out there, trying to help them in terms of educating them that these are the not these are old age belief system, that vaccination is actually helping you to survive. There are a lot of so the second part of it is educating the community through engaging the local influencers, because if you yourself will educate community going from Delhi to some block of the Kamrup district is not going to help you. Kamrup is under Assam, so you need to have local influencers, some kind of some kind of local people who understand all these things. So the second part of is eliminating that apprehensions. So the output of first project was that there is absolutely clear apprehension. The second part of is now eliminate that, and the third part of it is scale up that apprehensions. You find out the hotspot of such kind of areas where apprehension can happen, then you can scale up to not only limited to 2 zones but also all the hotspot across pan India. So ideally piloting something in one area and scale up to larger level could also be one part of it. Second is outcome of that the first assignment was apprehension, then addressing the apprehension is the second part of it. So this is how you can relate it, and there could be other examples as well. I just, if you still want, we can articulate other example, but I hope this is clear. So let me take, if there is another questions. Hold on, I'm just reading it down. Hello sir, क्या ये हो गया? This is ये हो गया. What factors company was selected? Dr. Badoni से अब Dr. Badoni, can you come in and enlighten us? We have 40 minutes. If you have something to show to team or participant. I think I have covered almost every part of it. Okay, so okay, let's go to the last section of this webinar. Let me pull out my last mind map. Hold on for a second. Then we will conclude it, and in the meantime you please don't hesitate to put your questions. Let me pull my last. Okay. So most of the thing I have covered, but I will just cover one part of it. Most of the thing I have covered, but out of this thing, which I will not, I have covered most of them, but I would like to quickly touch upon the CSR design and implementation framework. Till now we have largely talked about two things. One, we have discussed the different compliance of designing the CSR program. The second part of it, we try to see the evaluation of that CSR program. The third point I would like to touch upon is how the CSR program, not from a compliance point of view, but from a innovation point of view or from a implementation point of view, how that CSR program should be designed. So I'll try to cover this aspect of it. So CSR program is largely being thought through. So I will touch upon 4 stages and 9 steps, just to summarize it, so that, because these are the main things I would like to touch upon. There are 4 stages of while you design a program, and this is not, as I mentioned earlier, this is not the compliance side. We have covered the compliance side. The first, this is more on the research side. When you, this is more creating ideas around this framework will help you to create ideas in terms of how the program should be designed. So these are 4 stages of designing program, and within 4 stages there are 9 steps. We will talk about each one of them. So in the 4 stages, so first, can I just give me a minute? Just grab water. Okay. So in the 4 stages, we try to, first stage is unfreezing. So what do I mean by unfreezing? Is something that our top management awareness about sustainability and overcome the resistance to change, that we need to tell them these are the changes, but there could be some resistance around it. So is more in terms of something you would like to do. So this is more relevant to the donor agency, where you wanted to do something innovative. As I mentioned earlier, when you select some implementation agency, you need to see what kind of innovation he or she bring up. Now some innovation is not aligned to your top management. They will say, oh, this is not something, I have not seen such kind of things. So that is where, as a CSR head or as a CSR manager, your role is to convince them. That is what is required. So the first stage is sensitizing them. The second stage is unfreezing them, where you need to break that barrier, that please let's come out from that frame of mind that we will select those NGO which has XYZ turnover, which has 10 projects in my thematic area or 5 projects in my region. All these are traditional way of evaluating things, or traditional way of even evaluating people. So largely you need to eliminate kind of that is where your whole process of designing the CSR program will work. Uncovering the cultural assumptions, different barriers you might see while you there could be fear of change, there could be inappropriate belief, there could be loss of core value, there could be for us as well, when we try to do some innovation within the organization, that we might also face that, and not might, we almost every month we face that this has not been happened. So we try to tell them that this is happening first time, and anything can happen first time. So you need to, as a manager, you need to kind of break those barriers and convince. And convincing is not coming from just factual information. It will also come from your passion, from your conviction in terms of how confident you are for that assignment. Then the third part of it is that moving. So moving is largely, you please, create some assumptions around it, that these are the assumptions I am, and I may fail as well. So that way you need to create some assumptions and identify some need for CSR. It is not something that you just woke up and you like some idea and you have seen some YouTuber and then you come up and you start jumping over the, so you need to have rational, everything you should have in terms of coming to the freezing down the CSR program, and then refreeze the new cultural assumptions, that this is what this is the social change I'm looking for. This is, if this would happen, this would be the new likelihood of becoming the new type of paradigm. So you need to wide structure the process change. Learning orientation is very, very essential for them. So once you align your leadership in terms of these 4 stages, that is where you as a leader would have 9 steps in terms of CSR. So one question which came during the conversation was also, that what kind of the communication has in terms of CSR, and this is the top one. Absolutely, if you are doing your good work, you need to show that work, but in a legitimate way, that this is what I do, and this work should attract more beneficiary to it, helping in mobilization rather than creating repulsion. And if you have, maybe the oversold kind of, you have already more what we call it, more beneficiary to it, it's good for you, then you can, think of scaling that up. So one is, of course, there are 9 steps to creating in terms of the program. One is, of course, starting with the CSR awareness. CSR awareness could be, could be not only limited to creating movies or creating awareness. It should be, very, very thorough. It should be proactive as well as reactive. It should not be, something that, you thought of something, it's very reactive to. You need to create a proactive, and proactive would come from the engagement side as well. So the awareness should have, different key drivers, should economic, social, political, and digital. Largely, all the movies largely focusing upon individual. So your communication of this CSR should also touch upon political, social, and economical, because everybody is interested in themselves. They are hardly interested in economic development or social and political. But your message should have all the key parameters while you drafting any communications. You can, of course, draft market-based versus value-based drivers. You can top to down, you can take, management to unemployed, and you can, as I mentioned, you could have reactive and proactive triggers for your awareness campaign. On the second part of it is when you have created awareness, in terms of your program, and I assume that awareness has its 4 pillars around it. So the second step is uncovering the corporate norms and value, in terms of what you trying to what are your value systems you are targeting. So let's take an example of uncovering the values. Align the as I when we start the webinar, we talked about your priority, your company priority, and of course your national priority, your organization. So aligning those programs according to the organizational mission or values, they should align. It should not, I'm sorry to use this word, but there is no point of designing such program where someone is expecting kickback out of the program. There is no point of. Please don't design that program. If you expecting some kind of kickback around it, or you are giving some kind of kickback to someone, please don't do that. There is no point of talking about all this value system and organized mission. So ideally, it should align with your mission vision. It should, of course, it should have the behaviors, guide behavior. You need to reinforce the company and community benefit, and transition from target driven to value driven culture is what is required in terms of creating the real value in the CSR program. Of how you will identify these key stakeholders in terms of in terms of not only the one who will benefit from the program, but also the one who will implement the program is very, very important. So ideally, what you need to do is that you need to understand the different changing demands as per the anticipated in the proposals. For instance, we have anticipated that we will, let's say in the proposal, we agree that there are 200 families which are apprehensive of vaccination. They don't take vaccination in a year, and they are not even taking the mandatory vaccination. So they don't take polio, they don't take any. So you identify 200 families. So you need to see that in a year of time, how many families you will bring on board who will start taking vaccination. So you can't target all 200 in 6 months. Maybe you can target in first 6 months, you can target 20. In next 6 months, you can still target further 90 or 100. So that way you need to address all this. So identify and prioritize the issues while you and quantify them in such a way that it should address the different beneficiaries. Then then the vision and working definition of CSR, we have covered it. There is no point of assessing the current CSR status. You can see it, you can map it the way you want that. This is the this would help you in terms of the planned versus actual. So you can create a strategic plan. I'm just quickly touch upon. We will share this presentation with you for a reference. Then implement a CSR integrated strategic plan. It's very, it also include the impact assessment as well. We have covered the expenditure thing in the previous session, that the particular head should be spent in the same head, and communicating CSR commitment to and performance, evaluating, we have already separately covered it, and institutionalizing the CSR is something which I will just cover it, and we can, let me just reach it. So it has, as I mentioned earlier, that input of the X CSR program should, output of X CSR program should input for the Y CSR program. That continuity we need to ensure. If there is no continuity, there is no program design. So one should maintain that momentum. The second momentum is, sustainable activity. The third is committing resources, that it should not something that everything should be sponsored through CSR funding. It can be some commitment from the institutional side that beyond CSR we can still committing some kind of resources other than what has been allocated as a part of CSR. And of course you need to establish the reward and penalties as well, and continue stakeholder dialogue, so that you can, whenever required, you can change your outcome as well as per the, because it's a social change. Social change is not something that that you can you just switch on the button and fan will start. So it's not something like that. So one needs to see a continuous dialogue around it to make it happen. So I am taking a pause here, and we are about to close the webinar. So I will take a couple of more questions and then we will conclude it. Please type your questions. 1 second. I think I got 2 more questions. How do you balance social impact with regulatory compliance in CSR program design? Very nice question. The question is, how do you balance social impact with regulatory compliance in CSR program design? So I will divide this question 2 parts. One is he is talking about regulatory compliance. The second is he is talking about social impact. So as far as regulatory compliance is concerned, to enable you to do a social impact, you need to have at least 1 crore projects or total CSR 10 crore of the CSR umbrella. That is the compliance requirement. But if at all there is no compliance requirement, you still should do it. But now, how do you balance that? Both the things, that regulatory compliance is something that you need to do it, and how do you balance that? Balance in the sense, maybe he's trying to ask that that if some regulatory compliance is asking for some, if the output is not coming out as anticipated in a CSR outcome, how do you balance that? For example, he has anticipated output of Y and it has not come Y, maybe some lacuna in the output. How should you balance it? So my straight question is, there is nothing you can balance it out, because you can still balance or retweak during the concurrent evaluation. Once the end line, once the project is over, you can't really balance the outcome of the assignment, because that is already quantified. You can't really balance it. if there is negative, there is negative. But what you can do is you can do learning from the projects. For instance, there are some reasons why the project has failed, or there is some reason the project has not achieved the intended outcome. So you can study those outcome, and try to, next time when you design a project, you can consider those challenges as a part of and you can reduce your expectation in the next projects, that this is something I have anticipated in last, and I'm trying to lower down my expectation in terms of from the learning. You can't really balance it out that way, because the project is over and the impact assessment is also over. So there is because that both the output are in front of you, so you can't really balance them out really. So you can balance them out with a new assignment, with the new rhythm, with the what you can do is you can instead of penalizing them, you can still give them opportunity, because that is the team which has gone through the entire process, which has lot of learning around it. So you can give the same opportunity to the same team, which can further enhance the output in the next. Because every time we never encourage failures, we always encourage success. So in social sector, one needs to take a pause and start encouraging failures as well sometime, because why he might have put a lot of efforts to make it successful, but somehow it doesn't work out. But you can give him opportunity to work next time, and maybe that would really helpful. I think I have covered almost every questions. So with that, can we close this webinar with a thank you note? Okay, I'll wait for 10 seconds if there is any questions. Otherwise, we will conclude this. There are about 40 plus people in the room. Thank you so much for your time, efforts, and we expect that you would have enjoyed this session. And if there are some kind of you think that we have not covered, please write to us. We will try to cover in next sessions, and we'll try to give the recording of this session to you. And please don't hesitate to reach out for any. Our email ID is my email ID, I'm just writing it down, sanjay.bharadwaj mazars.co.in. I just wrote in the chat box, sanjay.bharadwaj@mazars mazars.co.in. You can reach out to us for anything. So thank you so much for your time. And if you have further questions, please write to us. We'll definitely try to answer. And we look forward for next level webinar, where we'll try to declutter further, things, where we largely in the next webinar, we try to teach how a grant is being written, how a successful grant is being written. So largely on the proposal development side, we'll have that session next time. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to meeting you again. Thank you.